What's up? What's going on, everybody? It's Tuesday. It is live. That means it is time for another edition of the Desmond Johnson Show here on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, tobaccoroadsportsradio.com. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. And we got a loaded week this week. NFL analyst Ross Tucker will be here a little bit later on today. It's UNC Duke rivalry week. So we've got all kinds of folks coming in throughout the week. Pete Chilcutt's going to be in the house. R.L. Bynum's going to be here tomorrow. Connor O'Neill's going to be here tomorrow. Just a whole lot of stuff going on. But right now, I got my man Jaelen Gilkey in the house from WFMY News 2. And, of course, we've got new Aggie head coach, North Carolina A&T football coach Shawn Gibbs in the house. And I know a lot of y'all probably got a lot of questions from Aggie Nation. So without further ado, let's go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and roll that intro. It's the Desmond Johnson Show.
Live with Desmond Johnson, son, the live is one. Represent NC to the fullest.
Yeah, welcome to the Carolinas. Everywhere you go, the sky is Carolina blue, the finest. Live action, feedback, the city need that. I've been number one, no cap. Here's the recap. Adrenaline is my addiction. I'm about to relapse. Step on the turf if you want and get your weed whacked. I'm going harder than a martyr on the slaughter end. It's the heart of man, that's a rap like a cardigan. I'm breaking records, it's fourth and inches, I count the seconds. The over-under's my roar of thunder, my secret weapon. Yeah, the game is to be told. I don't break, I break modes. Follow me on Tobacco Road.
Live with Desmond Johnson, son, the live is one. Represent NC to the fullest.
And it is another new edition of the Desmond Johnson Show, brought to you by Emergency Responders Credit Union in Winston-Salem. If you are an emergency responder in the Triad area looking for financial services, they can help you. They're located off of Link Road in Winston-Salem. That's ERCU, Emergency Responders Credit Union. Starting us off this week, huge interview here with head coach Shawn Gibbs from the North Carolina A&T Aggies. Coach, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Can't complain. Of course, Tobacco Road Sports Radio is the home of the Aggie Sports Network. We broadcast all the football and men's basketball games for the school. We have now since 2021, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll be going to our fourth year next year. Super excited to see this hire take place. You're the 23rd head coach in program history. What did it mean to you to get that call initially to come back home to A&T?
It was a tremendous honor. You know, I have a lot of respect for North Carolina A&T and its great tradition of both football players and coaches, and following the footsteps of all the great coaches that came before me, like Coach Hayes and Coach Broadway and Coach Forte and Hornsby Howell and many more. It's just a tremendous honor.
And Coach, to speak about that lineage of great players, why was it so important that, you know, now that your staff is starting to shake out, to bring back some of those guys that helped you and helped this program reach those great heights? I mean, I know you recently announced that you brought in Denzel Jones to be our defensive coordinator. You got Tony McCray in the defensive back room. And then I've talked to Tariq a little bit off camera, and he's hoping to have a role at some extent with you in your program as well. So why is it so important to bring those type of guys back in?
Just so on a daily basis, they can come in direct contact with some of the Aggie greats and really understand what it is to be an Aggie and what it is to have Aggie pride. Tariq will be working in player development with us, so he'll get a chance to really interact with these guys more in a more intimate setting, you know, off the field where it's not all X's and O's. And then, you know, to have a guy like Tony McCray, who, like I told the team, when we talk about the most recent run that we had, it started with Tony McCray and his leadership. And Coach Jones is also, you know, a defensive MVP at the first Celebration Bowl. Coach Jones was with me at Fort Valley State. So we go back a long time, all those guys. And I think it's just very important for all the guys currently on the team to understand what it really means to be an Aggie.
Joining us, head coach Shawn Gibbs from the University of North Carolina A&T. New football coach will be starting off here in the fall of 2025. You spent 11 years at A&T as the running back and special teams coach under Rod Broadway and Sam Washington, where many people feel like that stretch with Washington and Broadway may have been one of the best stretches in A&T football history. What's the biggest coaching attributes that you learned from both Sam Washington and Rod Broadway during those 11 years when you were here on, as a running back and special teams coach?
Well, I would say that, Coach, I probably have more in common with Coach Washington and his style than I do with Coach Broadway. Coach Washington is a player's coach that really was able to create a lot of confidence in our players and give them the ability to go out and perform week in and week out. And, Coach Broadway is just the ultimate disciplinarian. He's all about accountability. It starts at the top. He held himself accountable, and then he held all the coaches accountable. And then, it rolls downhill. The coaches hold the players accountable, and that's how you develop a championship program. So I learned a lot from both of those guys, as well as Coach Hayes. I was under Coach Hayes for a year, and, it's just a tremendous honor for me to be sitting here right now.
And as we ramp up to get ready for spring practice, I know that itch is starting to hit you. You could probably feel it in the air. It's time to strap the pads back up, get out there on the grass. Just what is it that you look forward to the most now that we're entering year one here in Aggie land?
Well, I'm just ready to get out there and work with these guys and really see, what we have. From watching film, I've seen that there is some talent. We're not void of talent on this football team, but we got to go out and develop these guys and teach them how to play the way that we want to play. So, I'm really getting worn out some of these talk shows and all that stuff, and I'm ready to get on the field and coach some football.
So yeah, we ain't gonna keep you too long, Coach. We know you got a lot of stuff.
I'm good. Not you guys.
You say, this filibuster you got going on.
My question is, along with the Aggie Sports Network, one of the things that Tobacco Road Sports Radio does in the Triad that we're very proud of, we're probably we are the largest provider of high school live sports in the area. And a lot of times fans or parents will come to me and they'll ask me questions because they know I'm associated with A&T, and they'll ask, are they looking at this guy or that guy or someone here in the area? Grimsley just won the 4A state football championship with probably one of the more dominating runs in state history in terms of their schedule and who they beat to get there. And some of the players on that team with NIL and the transfer portal, it feels like college athletics have gotten older in terms of coaches veering more towards the junior that's transferring out someplace that has a little bit of experience, as opposed to bringing in a freshman that might be a 4-star freshman right underneath their nose in the area. What is going to be your approach in terms of, are you planning on circling the wagon, so to speak, around the Triad and trying to harness some of the talent that's here? Because besides Grimsley, there's other Dudleys right down the street from you. They're like the little brother of A&T pretty much, and there's always talent coming out of East Greensboro, East Forsyth, and Kernersville. There's plenty of top 5 type high school teams that are right here in the Triad that are spitting out D1 talent every year. What's your plan in terms of recruiting and building this roster back up? Are you planning on using the transfer portal heavily to make this team older quicker? Or are you looking more at some of the talent that's maybe getting overlooked in the high school levels right here underneath your nose in the Triad and building it that way?
Well, we want to build this program on the backs of high school players, and we feel like we got to do a great job in our backyard. It starts in the Triad, in Greensboro and in Winston, High Point. We definitely have to get embedded with the local coaches so that we can get some of the top local talent to stay here at A&T. But we do live in a world where you're going to have to hit the transfer portal and find some guys that you can pluck and play. But we want to build it on the back of high school kids. So we'll really be recruiting the high schools in the state of North Carolina. We want to do it better than anybody else in the state. But when the time presents and there's a transfer or a guy in the portal that we need, then we won't be afraid to do that either.
And Coach, not a lot of success, not a lot of wins on the football field here these last couple years. What is it that, what is the biggest challenge that you see that the CAA presents when it comes to actually the competition level that you see week in and week out? And kind of what do you think is a style of football that you guys need to master to be able to succeed?
Well, the CAA is a tremendous challenge. It's one of the better conferences in FCS football. But our main challenge is North Carolina A&T. We got to make sure that we don't beat ourselves. And we got to understand that winning doesn't necessarily happen on the field. The way we approach anything is how you do anything is how you do everything. So you got to start winning in the classroom. You got to start winning in the weight room. You got to start winning on the practice field. You got to start winning as a man. And if you can do all those things, then wins will take care of themselves on the field. So our main challenge is just to get our guys to buy into that philosophy and try to be well-rounded and be the best people that they can be, and to develop the type of pride that it's going to take to go into the CAA and be competitive.
So at this point, I kind of feel like an adopted Aggie. I graduated from UNCG, so down the way. So we would just come down.
They all say that, Coach.
We would just drive down Market Street to hang out on the weekends and drive back up to UNCG. But after being on campus since 2021, doing the coaches shows, doing the live streams, being a part of everything, the only thing I've not got a chance to do is be at GHO, like with my feet on the ground, because I'm usually in the studio producing the football game, and I'm still trying to figure out a way to do that so I can get a fish sandwich. But my question to you is, coming back to campus after the 2 rough seasons in the CAA, what message do you want to give to Aggie Nation to hear about the future of the program? What's the type of team that you're striving to be? Because I know there's a lot of we do a lot of interactive stuff with Aggie fans. Like there's a post-game show with Donald Ware where fans can literally come in and comment on what they've been seeing. So the past 2 years it's been pretty harsh. The fans are used to a certain standard out in East Greensboro, and they have not been getting it. What's the message you want to give out to them in your own words in terms of the future of the program, what you're planning on doing, and just some words of encouragement going into the CAA here for year 3 for A&T with you at the helm?
Well, we just want to put a product on the field that our alums can be and our fans can be proud of. Well, with the effort that we play with the discipline that we play with the commitment that we play with, we want to be a team that our people can take a tremendous amount of pride in. And like I've said time and time again, this program didn't get to where it's at overnight, and we're not going to get it fixed overnight. Our expectation is to go out and win every game. That will never change. But we also understand that we got a lot of work to do. And for us to get this program where it needs to be, it's not just on the backs of the players. It's not just on the backs of the coaches. We need the alum. We need the administration. We need the fans. We need the community. We need everybody to get behind us and support us. And if we do that and we come together as one, then I think we can do everything that we dream about.
And I know that the university is headed in a great direction. Everything's new, everything's expanding. And myself being an alum during the true heyday of Aggie football in the early 2010s, that 2013 area, 15 area, I just know that how important the football program is to the success of the university and to the vibe and the buzz of the school. So just talk about, why do you think that is, and how does that kind of play a role into what you guys are motivating you guys and kind of helping lead the program to success as well?
Yeah, absolutely. The success of athletics definitely affects the rest of the school. One thing that I want to do is I want to try to mend the relationship between the football players. I don't want to speak for all athletes, but the football players and the student body. There's been some things that I've heard about that happened in the past couple years where, people were getting booed at the pep rally and things of that nature. And we got to understand we can't do that. We need the support of the student body at each and every game. But at the same time, we got to make sure that we're carrying ourselves like men and being gentlemen while we're on campus and developing these relationships and letting the student body know that we want to go out and represent you. We want to make you proud each and every week. But football is a big part of it. We say that when you come on a corner of Sullivan and Lindsay, that you're going to have your hands full. But you're not going to have your hands full just with our football team, but you're going to have your hands full with our crowd. We have an environment that is unlike anybody else's in the CAA. And I can foresee that once we get this thing rolling, there'll be a lot of athletes, speaking of the transfer portal, there'll be a lot of athletes in the CAA that come to Greensboro and play in that stadium and see how our fans are and see the tailgate, and they're probably going to want to be a part of that.
That's a great point. That's a great point to lean on that legacy of Aggie Nation. I totally agree. Of course, North Carolina A&T football, you can catch it every weekend on Tobacco Road Sports Radio and across terrestrial radio in the Triad. We also have it, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we had it on Sirius XM. We were running it across the Facebook page for North Carolina A&T Athletics, where it reaches over 300,000 people. So they're in a unique situation. It is the largest HBCU on earth, and now in the CAA, getting a chance to kind of plant their flag after really since the COVID stretch, where I mean A&T bounced into like 2 different conferences in like 2 years, like leaving the MEAC, going to the Big South. You were there a year, then they went to the CAA. COVID's going on. You lost a year because of COVID, didn't even play. And that's kind of affected the program. And I think the fans kind of understand that part of it, but fans are going to be fans. They're ready to get going again. And they understand the power that A&T can have because they just tasted it. They literally just tasted it like not even a decade ago. So good luck to you, Coach Gibbs. This won't be the last time you see me or Jaelen. We'll be definitely covering the football team throughout. And I particular am very appreciative of Brian Holloway, Earl Hinton, just did stuff with them last night. In terms of the relationship we've built with A&T in terms of helping prop up not just the football program, but men's basketball and other athletic programs at A&T. Just enjoy the relationship, and I look forward for us growing further. Good luck to you going forward with the football team. Hey, you ever want to know about some kid in the triad, if it's for Cypher Guilford, come holler at me. I probably can give you an idea of, what's going on with them and kind of take it from there. But congratulations to you on the promotion and becoming head coach at North Carolina A&T.
Yes, Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Let's get that grease hot. Got my plate ready.
All right. I'm gonna figure out a way to get to GHO and produce it on site. Like that's the one thing I've not done yet. I've not been there since I was a kid. Because I grew up literally the little neighborhood that's on the other side of campus. It's got the little park right there beside the baseball stadium. That little neighborhood right there, and that little hook right there. My aunt lived there in the bottom of it. So as a kid in the summertime, late summer, my fondest memories are hearing the A&T drum line walking back from practice, and they would just stop outside the band room and just play for like an hour. You could hear it through the trees. That's the kind of stuff I remember. I didn't go to A&T, but it's ingrained.
Don't let him fool you, Coach. He from down the street, man. We don't know nothing about what Des talking. He from down the street, Coach. We don't know that.
It's like the kid looking like in the window like this, like looking just what's going on over there, what's happening over there. That's kind of been with me with that. So again, I'm just happy to be associated with you guys and helping grow the brand overall. So appreciate you, Coach. Like I said, I know you got a bunch to get after and do. So appreciate you spending the time with us today.
All right, thank you. God bless, and Aggie Pride.
Aggie Pride, Coach.
Aggie Pride. All right, there he goes. That's head coach Shawn Gibbs. And Jaelen, I already have in the can Ross Tucker, NFL analyst, joined me earlier to talk about Pat Mahomes, the Super Bowl. Is he the GOAT? Is he about to be the GOAT? Like, I mean, we're running out of answers here. We're running out of answers, dog. Like, before I let you go,
you just want it. You want to embrace it, brother.
No, I'm embracing it. I said 2 years ago, I ain't betting against Pat Mahomes ever again until he actually loses the game. No, not in January. No way.
It's real wicked out here, man. It's real wicked. I'll leave it at that.
Like I said, he and the Chiefs have entered 90s Bulls territory in terms of dynasty. And like not just dynasty, but like it's really hard to find somebody that hates the Chiefs. Like it was different with the Patriots. It's different if it's Duke or something like that, the Yankees or whatever. There's built-in fan bases that hate that group. It's hard for me to find people other than the fact they're just tired of being there every year. It was like that with the Jordan Bulls. Nobody hated seeing the Bulls in the finals every year. You kind of expected it after a certain point, and you kind of rooted for greatness. And that's kind of what's happening right now with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I do think the Philadelphia Eagles can beat this team. They're not like unbeatable. They kind of are. They kind of are. Like they never blow anybody out. They just do the right things to win. And like Josh Allen is like the NFL's version of Charles Barkley. You know what I mean? Like Lamar Jackson is Patrick Ewing. Like you're on this great team. You should have been to the finals multiple times. You probably should have won a ring by now. But there's this dude standing in your way. He's standing in everybody's way. And nobody can eat until he's done. And like it's Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs. And I don't see this stopping anytime soon. Do you? Because like most of this team's going to be back.
I'm gonna have a hard time seeing it, coming to an end. The only, again, if we could get a Chiefs-Ravens matchup, I think the Ravens are the only team that really have a chance.
If they get there, if we get it,
but they gotta get there to set that up. Especially
they did last year.
I know, but this is, the maturity level. Everybody's a year older. Everybody's a year more experienced. It was a lot of first year, second year, third year guys. Now this year's Ravens team, they got more veterans, and next year's Ravens team, depending on the moves that they make in the offseason, it's probably going to be more veteran laden as well.
Just
So
run the ball. Run the ball. That last game here, run the ball.
It's the only team that match up across the board.
Yeah.
That's the only team. Everywhere else, it's a lot of variance in that moment. Having those guys when those moments come, it's a lot of variance there. But I think that the Ravens are a team that actually is able to, 1 for 1, 2 for 2. You know what I'm saying? They can keep it balanced. But at this point, it's looking super scary, man.
I do expect a close game. I mean, we're still 2 weeks out. I haven't really gave my prediction yet, but I know where I'm leaning. I'm not betting against Pat Mahomes in February. I
like Shawn Barkley, though.
I do like Saquon Barkley. I was just talking to Stu a minute ago, and he's like, Saquon might be the equalizer. I'm like, he might be, but we're dealing with mites. We're not dealing with absolutes. Kansas City feels like Thanos at this point. They're just inevitable.
See it. Yeah.
So
it's a beautiful thing, but it's painful to watch. But it's beautiful.
Yeah, but again, they're the closest thing I can think of to the 90s Bulls in my lifetime. Because even the Patriots, that was 2 different windows. That was Brady's first 4 years and his last 4 years. There was an 8-year gap in between where they didn't get to the Super Bowl. So it's not the same thing. The Warriors, it got to the point where people were kind of getting tired of the Warriors. And then the Warriors did the thing where, if the Bulls had added Charles Barkley in the middle of those stretches, that's kind of what the Warriors did. So they're not looked at the same way. The Chiefs, they've got dudes coming back because Kareem Hunt, Juju Smith-Schuster, people that were there and left. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Tyreek Hill ends up back on the Chiefs. Before all this is said and done.
I think he would like to. I just don't know if the money's gonna work out.
I think they're we don't need you. We've been in the Super Bowl 2 years since.
You could always use a cheetah now. Let's not do that.
Xavier Worthy, though, he might be the next. He might be the one. They're really feeding him. So we'll see.
I don't know. Was that a catch?
I don't think so. I just told Stu that. He was like, "Nah,
the ball was an interception." I thought it was an interception.
At first, I did too. Yeah, and then
I leaned a little bit more defense though, but I was like, that looked like an interception.
That's the conspiracy part of the NFL thing because it was the way this. If they hadn't done it, the sequence they did it in, where he called it, the Chiefs ran another play, they got stuffed on it. The refs are like, that don't count because there was a flag nobody saw for replay or whatever that we didn't get. They come back and say the play stands. Kansas City gets basically a free play, and it's that's why people like the NFL scripted and they want Kansas City and blah 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 blah.
Well, see, the only thing was there was a flag on the play, so there was a defensive holder on the play. So I could give them that, but I still thought just watching the play ISO cam, I thought it was an interception. But
it looked like it was in the very beginning, and Worthy ripped it away while it was on the ground. But while they were coming down, the ball is on the ground. Literally, it's on the ground.
It was very funky, but whatever. Yeah, it is what it is.
Again, it's Thanos. It's inevitable. If it wasn't that, it'd been something else. So that's kind of
the Chiefs get pretty privileged. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but when you win, that's what happens. That's just life. When you're winning like that, things are going to go your way.
That bad joint walking the street. Everybody want to hold the door for her.
Yeah,
everybody.
Every green light.
Do you need something? Do you need some help? No, nah, she's just looking.
That's Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs right now. So I'm gonna get Jaelen out of here. We're gonna bring on Ross Tucker, NFL analyst for Westwood One, CBS, and a host of others. So stick around just a bit. We'll get that situated for you right now. Now joining the Desmond Johnson Show, he is a former NFL offensive lineman for 7 years, current NFL analyst for a variety of different platforms, Westwood One, CBS, you name it. Ross Tucker joining the show, friend of the show. You've been on a couple of times before. What's going on, Ross? How you doing?
Desmond, fantastic, man. It's one of my favorite times of year. It's always mixed emotions. You get excited for the Super Bowl, but then no football for a while. But you got to take the good with the bad, I guess.
Yeah, I think my lovely wife is counting down days because she knows that after the Super Bowl, there's no football till August. So, so it's one of those things where she kind of knows. She's just kind of dealing with it, especially the past couple of weekends where it's just been football nonstop, Saturday, Sunday. Before I get to the Super Bowl, though, a couple of quick things I wanted to hit around the league with you while I got you on. And I want to start off in Big D in Dallas. Dallas hiring Brian Schottenheimer for their new head coach. Do you think that Jerry Jones and company made a mistake hiring Brian Schottenheimer instead of maybe knocking on Deion Sanders' door, which seemed to be the national media's kind of push? And I can understand it. They want it because that's just a built-in story, writes itself with Deion being the head coach. But it doesn't look like it ever really got very far. Do you think the Dallas will regret not offering Deion Sanders the head coaching job?
Well, I think you have to start. I guess I would say two things, right? Start with how we think Brian Schottenheimer will do, And the answer is that nobody has any clue. Nobody knows. And I'll expand on that a little bit. What I would say about Deion, I did the game between Colorado and Colorado State this year. And Deion Sanders did a tremendous job at Colorado. I thought he did a really nice job. I like the new D coordinator he had, Livingston. They were much better on defense. The only thing I would say is, I think part of the value that Deion brings, maybe as much as any, is that he brought two of the five best players, two of the top 5 picks in the draft with him, right?
That's a really good point.
So it's kind of hard to separate those two. I think we'll learn a lot more about Deion as a head coach this year is what I would say. I like to see how he does without having Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter on his team. Could be a lot different. As for Brian Schottenheimer, I've made this point several times. It's funny. I know people don't look at him as like the hot shot coordinator or whatever, but I don't know. I mean, went to the AFC Championship game twice with Mark Sanchez as the quarterback. That seems pretty impressive. They ran the ball well.
Yeah.
I also think it's interesting. There's so many, hot shot coordinators that don't become good head coaches because those are two very different jobs. And when you talk to these guys, they tell you that. Very different jobs. And so, what if Schottenheimer's the opposite? What if Schottenheimer was a good coordinator, but is a great head coach? Maybe he's better suited for that skill set. The reason why I bring that up is because his dad was one of my coaches. I had 9 head coaches in the NFL, including Hall of Famers, Bill Belichick, Joe Gibbs, Bill Parcells. I thought Marty Schottenheimer was the best of them. I thought he was the best coach I had. I mean, and I know he didn't win Super Bowls or whatever, but just watching the way they coached the team, I would tell you that Marty Schottenheimer was number 1. So that doesn't mean Brian Schottenheimer will be good, but he was around his dad a lot, so you have to think some of that rubbed off. The last thing, which is how I started this, would be the most important thing, which is that we have no clue. You know what I mean? Like you think about, I'll give you examples for the team that I cover here in Pennsylvania. 2016, Doug Peterson, they said that hire was the worst of the 7 hires that cycle. He doesn't even call the plays for the Chiefs. Andy Reid does. 2017, he wins the only Super Bowl in franchise history with the team, right? Or even 4 years ago, Desmond, they hired this guy, Nick Sirianni, the last guy hired, doesn't even call the plays for the Chiefs. I mean, for the Colts, Frank Reich does. Comes to Philly. They're in their second Super Bowl in the last 3 years. My point would be, it doesn't really matter how the press conference goes. Doesn't really matter how, the perception is of the hire. None of us really know how these guys are going to do.
And that's a good point. I cover the Carolina Panthers here in North Carolina, and we had the same situation last year. Dave Canales didn't have an interview with any other team, if I'm not mistaken, other than Carolina, and a lot of people kind of questioned whether or not he'd be able to find himself in the role. And it looks like Carolina might have got their man with Canales. I think by the end of the year, I think a lot of the fan base is kind of on the same side of what they're doing there. All the NFL honors is going to be this weekend. Of course, it's that middle weekend in between Conference Championship Sunday and the Super Bowl. Who was your league MVP this year? Because it kind of turned to a 2-man race at the very end there.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting that, Saquon Barkley did not get more discussion for it.
Mm-hmm.
But as much as I love Saquon, first of all, the Eagles have the best O-line in the league. Secondly, it's hard to say he's more valuable than Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen or even guys like Burrow and Goff. I mean, it's hard to say that. I thought Josh Allen was the MVP of the league. Even the loss against the Rams, certainly the win at Detroit, the win over the Chiefs. I mean, if this was college football, Josh Allen led the Bills to the 2 most impressive wins of the season at Detroit and against the Chiefs. And I thought, like Lamar had an incredible year, but Zay Flowers made the Pro Bowl. They had like 9 Pro Bowlers, 6 All-Pro. Derrick Henry was incredible. Josh Allen, like you look around, he's the only guy. He was the only. That doesn't mean those other guys aren't good players, but he's the only guy that got any of those type of numbers.
That actually brings us over to the guy that keeps getting in Josh Allen's way, and Lamar Jackson, and Jalen Hurts, and all these quarterbacks. That's Pat Mahomes. I was just talking to Jonathan Stewart, We Do Believe in Panthers, each week for the Believe Podcast Network, and I've been on this tip the past 3 or 4 weeks now, where I've been comparing this Chiefs team to the '90s Bulls in terms of what they're doing. Like they're making it where there are a lot of quarterbacks, especially in the AFC, they probably deserve a shot in the Super Bowl, and they just can't get there because they can't get past Mahomes. And it's the same thing in the '90s with Jordan, and there was a lot of players that probably should have won rings and didn't because Jordan was there. Like he was just, once he got to the top, he never really stopped. And what we're watching right now with the Chiefs, and you've played for some dynastic type teams, Patriots in consideration there too. Yeah. Is this the greatest run in history of the Super Bowl era that the Chiefs are on right now? They've been to 7 straight AFC Conference Championship games. If they do this on next Sunday, or a week from this Sunday, and three-peat, they'll be the only team in NFL history to win 3 in a row. They would win 3 in the past 4 years. Pat Mahomes doesn't know what it's like to not get to at least the AFC Championship game, and he's 28. Like he's still in an age of 30. Someone was asking me about Andy Reid retiring, so I'm like, why would he? Like, I'd wheel out there at 85 in a wheelchair if it's going to be rolling like this, like every year. But the Chiefs, this was a down year. They went 15-2. Like, are we witnessing greatness in the same way we were witnessing greatness for this long of a period of time that we did with the Bulls in the 90s, where it was literally the entire decade they were in the championship? Whereas with the Patriots, I've always said it was really 2 windows. It was the first 4 years of Brady's career, they went 3 or 4. And then the last 4 in the Patriots, they went 3 or 4. So there was this gap of like 7-8 years in between where they didn't get to the Super Bowl. The Chiefs aren't in that. So you can kind of separate those from there. What are your thoughts on this? Because you've seen greatness up close. You've played with greatness. You've played on the Patriot teams. Is this the greatest run in the history of the Super Bowl era that the Chiefs are currently on right now?
Yeah, I think it is. I agree with you. I thought there was like Brady 1.0 and Brady 2.0. And right now, Mahomes is still in 1.0. And I was on the sideline, whatever year that was, when the Bengals beat them in the AFC Championship game.
2021. Yep.
Yeah. And I didn't realize at the time just how unique that was. The only time in the last 6 years they haven't gotten to the Super Bowl. It's absolutely incredible because it's not like they're doing it against bad quarterbacks or teams. You've had Josh Allen in the Bills. You've had Lamar Jackson in the Ravens. You've had Burrow in the Bengals. And yet they still consistently find ways to win this game. Whether they win this Super Bowl or not, you can say it's the best stretch in my mind, going to 5 in 6 years, winning 3. If they win this one and they've won 4 in 6 years, gone to 5, I think it's clearly the best run we've ever seen. I don't think there's any doubt about it in my mind.
That actually leads me to my other half of that question. If that happens and they do three-peat, where do you rank Andy Reid in terms of head coaches, in terms of that list? Because pretty much Bill Belichick leads all those lists as the greatest coach of all time, but even Bill didn't get the 3 in a row, nonetheless win 3 in a row. And really all Andy's done the past, really since he drafted Mahomes 7 years ago, is just add to that resume. He's just adding to it. Where do you put Andy Reid in terms of like all-time great coaches, concerning you played for Bill Belichick and Joe Gibbs and a bunch of others?
Yeah, I think he's number 1. I do. I always thought it was Joe Gibbs, Desmond, and I say that because to win 3 Super Bowls with 3 different non-Hall of Fame quarterbacks like Joe Gibbs did, I don't think anybody will ever do that again. I mean, 3 Super Bowls, 3 non-Hall of Fame quarterbacks, Theismann, Doug Williams, Mark Rippon, but then he went to a 4th, and then he made the playoffs with 3 other quarterbacks, Jay Schrader. Then he made the playoffs when he came back for the 2nd stint with Mark Brunell and Todd Collins. I mean, that is impressive. That is putting in work. That said, I never was in the Bill Belichick camp just because he has like 9 or 10 years without Brady. He's won 1 playoff game. Like, to me, that's not that impressive to me. Andy Reid, though, is in that category because went to a Super Bowl with McNabb, a ton of NFC Championship games, had success with AJ Feely, Kevin Cobb. Those guys got contracts. Then he goes to Kansas City. Alex Smith plays great. And then obviously what he's done with Mahomes is incredible.
Having the wherewithal to trade up for Mahomes, because really people forget this part of the Pat Mahomes story. He wasn't highly touted coming out of college. Yes, he threw the ball around a lot at Texas Tech, but they had a losing record his last year there. Like, it wasn't like he was one of these dudes that was like, oh, we got to get Pat Mahomes. Like, Andy Reid saw something and traded up to go get him, and they've had nothing but success the whole time. Real quick before I get you out of here, Ross Tucker here with this NFL analyst. You can follow him on social media at Ross Tucker NFL. Way too early Super Bowl predictions. I know we're almost 2 weeks out from this game, but how do you see this game going? Philly's been at the top of the NFC pretty much the entire year. Kansas City's doing Kansas City things. They literally gave the last game away to Denver. Otherwise, they would have been, 16-1 going into the playoffs. How do you? This Kansas City team doesn't blow anybody out, and they barely get to 30. I think that was the first time they got to 30. I think all year, if I'm not mistaken. I guess the question should be, what does Philly need to do to beat this Kansas City team? Because it's not a matter of just scoring more points. There's a number of little things you got to kind of do that Kansas City will not do. They're not going to make mistakes. They're not going to lose it themselves. Can Philly beat Kansas City in this game? It's basically like, can the Phoenix Suns and Charles Barkley beat Jordan and the Bulls when they're at this level and the Suns are trying to get there? It's the same kind of logic. Hurts is in that category of quarterbacks trying to break through too. Can he do it? Are you picking the Eagles to beat the Chiefs, or is it too early?
Yeah, no, I'm not. I think if the Eagles need to win, they need to win by 2 scores. I think it'll be a close game though, and in a close game, I don't know how you go away from Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. I think it's tough to pick Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni over Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes until they prove that they can do it, and they absolutely could. But I think it's a close game, and I think it's probably Chiefs like 27-24 would be my guess. But I also wouldn't be shocked if the Eagles win by 2 scores. I think they got the better roster and the better team.
They do have the better. We saw that first play Sunday, the better offensive line. Like you said, they got the best offensive line in the NFL, and that might be the thing that helps them out there. Before we get you out of here, though, tell us about myfrontpagestory.com.
I'm telling you, Desmond, best Valentine's Day gift ever. Myfrontpagestory.com. You literally talk to a writer for 10 minutes, tell them how great your wife is. They write this incredible story. It looks like it's on the cover of the newspaper. Framed, beautiful. She will cry. You will win. Just being able to say to her, honey, I want to do something special for you this year. So I had a story written about you. Like, that blows their. What do you mean you had a story written about me? Yeah, I had a story written about you. It is amazing. Myfrontpagestory.com. Myfrontpagestory.com.
All right, you guys heard it there, myfrontpagestory.com. Thanks to Ross Tucker for stopping by. Thanks to North Carolina A&T new head coach Shawn Gibbs from stopping by and starting off the program with us earlier today. We'll be back tomorrow. Of course, it's UNC Duke rivalry week, so we will have all that there for you. Connor O'Neill in the house, R.L. Bynum in the house, former Tar Heel great Pete Chilcutt in the house. It's loaded. You know how we do here on the Desmond Johnson Show. We will see you live Wednesday, 12:30 p.m. here on the Tobacco Road Sports Radio YouTube channel. Peace.